Good afternoon, folks. It is Thursday. We are very nearly at the end of the week. Are you excited? Because I am. I can't wait for the weekend. Anyway, I have been inundated with a letter, with a single message from one of my patrons asking me to go over the Space Wolves, and indeed I'm going to do that in this video. But if you want to be able to give me suggestions for videos that I will then take you up on, then feel free to head on to the Patreon down below, donate whatever you want, and then send me a message of what you want, because I do see Patreon people as kind of my employees, my employers. So yeah, you tell me what you want me to do once or twice a week, and I will endeavour to do that. It also helps you out because you can get into the prize draw that we're going to do in the middle of every single month from this month forwards, hopefully, where you can win. You get 2 chances to win £30 worth of models from Composite Games. Big thank you to them. If you're getting any gaming stuff, head down to Composite Games down below and use the promo code Northern Exile. That will get you 5% off at checkout. And yeah, thank you very, very, very much. And let's carry on with what I have to say about Space Wolves. So, as some of you may know, I'm not a huge fan of Space Wolves, to say the very least. But Court, who is a Patreon member, thank you very much, Court, got in touch with me a little while ago and asked me, because he is a Space Wolf player and he likes to put a new spin on his own Space Wolf army, and he told me how he was going to do it, which I thought was very, very interesting. But he also asked me, he said, and I quote, maybe you can help me understand more about the distaste of the wolves, or hopefully something that can redeem them a little bit for you. And I thought, okay, that's fair enough. And I started thinking to myself, why don't I like Space Wolves? And so I then wrote an essay, because they genuinely annoy me that much. I just cannot get it through to you, but I'm going to try. I have 10 points here that I'm going to go over and explain on why I don't like the Space Wolves. Categorically, once and for all, why I don't like them. I've touched on it in separate videos over the months, and maybe even years, in different videos on why I'm not a big fan of them. And people have asked me in Q&As, why don't you like them? And I've given them quite a detailed response. But I've never actually given out a video, one-size-fits-all video of, look, why don't I like these guys? Why do they bug me so much? Don't get me wrong, by the way. I'm not saying that other armies in Warhammer 40,000 don't do similar things wrong that the Space Wolves do. I'm not saying that at all. I did do a 40k lore on the Space Wolves back in the day, but I didn't really touch on what I don't like about them. I did touch on it, but I didn't really go into it as much detail as people want, because they look at that lore video, and it's a lore video, right? I'm not giving you my likes and dislikes, I'm discussing what's cool about their lore. So now, here are 10 reasons why I'm not a big fan of the Space Wolves. And hopefully, when you've seen this video, you will get a much better understanding of where I'm coming from. And why I'm right, damn it. Anyway. So, before I even get started, with the Space Wolves, everything is called Wolfy, 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 Wolf. There is no originality or thought really put into the background of the Space Wolves. There isn't. They are very much a Saturday morning cartoon type of Warhammer 40,000 faction. Space Wolves in lore are ridiculously obnoxious, and they get away with things that no other faction would get away with. For instance, and this is where we're going to start our list here. Number 1. Going against the Inquisition and living. The Celestial Lions did the same thing and were slowly eradicated over time. The wolves got to be exposed to demons, have humans around them be exposed to demons, and were allowed to just walk away during the months of shame. Yes, I know the Ordo Malleus surrounded Fenris, but it very much looked like an even standoff, which it shouldn't have been, because it's the entire Inquisition against some little piddly, Space Marine chapter. And yeah, everyone just decided to walk away. You know what I mean? Like there are a few things that a few bits of conflict happened, but really everybody just walked away and got on with their lives. They are the only faction that the Inquisition would give a pass to. Do you know what I mean? And Wolves players, this is how annoying they are. Wolves players will come out and say, yeah, it's because we're so badass. It's not, dude. It's because Games Workshop know how woefully insecure most Space Wolves players are. and so they will not give you any sort of comeuppance for the actions of your faction at all. They wrote themselves into a corner with the Months of Shame, and then just said, well, we can't have the Space Wolves losing because then they'll all start crying. So why don't we just have, why don't we just have everyone go their separate ways? Because, that doesn't break the Inquisition's law at all. It does. The Inquisition do not let people go like that. The Inquisition should have eradicated Fenris. They should have given it exterminatus and been like, that's it, you're done. You are excommunicate traitoris, you're gone. See you later. That should have been the end of it. But no, here we are. And that would have made... Do you know what that would have meant? The Space Wolves become interesting then. They become sympathetic. Their homeworld's gone. They become sympathetic. They become, this wandering band of badasses who were out there and they stood up for humanity, goddammit. And, they're now anti-heroes. That would have been so cool. But no, we're not allowed growth in the Space Wolves because that would be interesting. And people would start whinging. So let's just go to number 2, shall we? They got away with speaking to Guilliman and other Primarchs in the Horus Heresy like they were little bitches. Like, literally just throwing shade at them to their face and nothing happens. This happened on multiple occasions. They even call the other... they call Lemon Russ King, right? And they call all of the other Primarchs Jarls. Go fuck yourself. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, he is, like, the most obnoxiously shit Primarch of them all. He really is. I don't give a shit what anyone says. He accomplishes nothing. He is the only Primarch who accomplishes, in my opinion, a net negative for the Imperium. Literally a net negative. You can talk about Korax and all these other people. They had their legions smashed before they even got a chance to do anything. And they still did some cool shit. Even Vulcan still got to protect the Emperor on his golden throne on Terra. Some Dark Angels still got to Terra. Under Corswain, badass Corswain, the first Astral Blade. We'll get into that over the next couple of weeks when I do my lore video on the Astral Blades. My redone lore video on the Astral Blades, because I didn't think the last one, I thought it was good, but not as good as it could have been. Anyway, so, everybody else, every other Loyalist Primarch got a net positive, even if it was just a +1, Like, Lionel Johnson got a +1, because he helped... He beat up Conrad Kurz, he smashed the Night Lords. Well, yeah, so he got like a +5, really. He smashed the Night Lords, he beat up Conrad Kurz, and he also helped the Blood Angels get to Terra. That's like a +5, do you know what I mean? Other people like, Dawn got like a +20 out of the Horus Heresy, because they did fucking nearly everything, right? Sanguinius, +20, all those guys. He is the... Like, oh, God. Lemon Russ is the only one with a negative. He's got a -1 at least for the shit that he pulled. I'll get into it in a minute. I'll get into that in a minute. I'm just yeah, your blood boiling. Sorry. Only the Lion put one of them down when he spoke to him like that with a bitch slap. But even then, you can word it as if it's in the favour of the wolf, as he took the blow and didn't die. Do you know what I mean? So in Unremembered Empire, one of the wolves steps up to Lionel Johnson and says, I need to fight one of your warriors to satisfy your honour. And he goes, well, why don't you fight me? And of course the wolf says, no, because, I'm a coward. And I only pick on people who, are lesser than me. Or I think are lesser than me. To which, Lionel Johnson said, listen, go ahead, hit me. The Space Wolf hits him, nothing happens. Lionel Johnson says, okay, you got your one in. And he hits him back and slaps him across the fucking... one hit slaps him, straight to the deck. Into the ground. And the guy just gets back up, he goes, right, well, honour satisfied then, and walks off. Like, if a Primarch hits you in the face, dude, I don't care. Lion may have pulled his blow, but I'm swear to you now, if a Primarch even grazes you like that, you will turn to pulp. Don't even get me started. They're given so many get-out-of-jail-free cards, it's unreal. It's unreal. They were beyond useless in the Horus Heresy. That's number 3. There, I said it. The Space Wolves were beyond useless in the Horus Heresy. They pushed the Thousand Sons to be traitors, because they and their Primarch are total morons. As in, the Space Wolves. They're total morons. They took Horus for his word, without even bothering to double-check their orders with the Emperor, despite having a direct line to him. The Emperor told them to go and get Magnus. So they obviously have a direct line of communication back to Terra, to the Emperor. They didn't once just double check and say, look, Horus says we need to go and kill all these guys. Are you fucking sure? We've not done that in ages. Are you sure? You know, like, are you sure that's what we should be doing? You know? Are these your orders? Because we don't like Horus anyway. So are these your orders, Emperor, or not? No. They just went ahead and did it anyway. Because they're fucking idiots. Because they're morons. They wanted to annihilate the Thousand Suns because they don't like Psychers, so they went ahead and did it. They did nothing to aid in the Siege of Terra, despite being told by Malcador, people who know better, they were told that by them being on Terra, they would swing the war into being an easy Imperial win. But no. Leman Russ knows best, goes to Horus on his own and fails to kill him and gets put into a fucking coma. Gets slapped into a coma by Horus. Good job. Good job. Space Wolves are the literal reason the Emperor even needs to be on the Golden Throne. If they were on Terra, with the Imperial Fists, Blood Angels and White Scars, they would have annihilated Horus without any need for an epic duel between Horus and the Emperor. Quote me on that. If the Space Wolves are as overpowered as people like to think that they are, then if they were on Terra with the other Loyalist Legions who were already doing really well, you know, they needed, it was essentially down to a stalemate, but a stalemate that would have caused the Astronomicon to go out, and of course the portal underneath the Emperor's Palace to explode, and so you lose Terra anyway at that point. But it was still a stalemate at that point. If the wolves are there, it turns into an Imperial victory. They don't get anywhere. The traitor legions don't get anywhere near to the Golden Throne. They don't get anywhere near to in the Sanctum of the Imperial Palace, because there is now a full legion of Space Wolves there, with Leman Russ there. Are you telling me that with the way that the traitor cause sort of fell apart towards the end, and it did, people went off on doing their own things, you're telling me that when Perturabo just left the Siege of Terra, if the Space Wolves are there as a legion as well, he would have even gotten anywhere near as close to the Emperor as he did? No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. It would have been over. It would have been overs cadovers straight away. You know? Hook, line, and sinker. Finish. But no. Leman Russ knows best, you see. So he goes out there and he fights Horus, fails to kill him, and gets bitch slapped into a coma. Brilliant. Well done, Space Wolves. Well done. Thank you. Thank you so much for not listening to anybody. Thank you so much for being arrogant assholes and dooming the entire galaxy to 10,000 years of bloody war. Thank you so much for that. Anyway, moving on. You're beyond useless, you're shit, and I don't like you. Go away. Right, number 4. They annihilate the Thousand Suns with very little effort. No legion should just annihilate another legion one-on-one. Only the wolves would be afforded such a breaking of the law. There's a very good reason why you don't have one legion just annihilate another legion in the law. Because nobody wants to play the other legion. Right? How many Thousand Suns players do you know? I don't know any. I know about 20 people who do Horus Heresy. I don't know any Thousand Suns players. I don't know anybody who's ever faced the Thousand Suns army in Horus Heresy. Right? The Space Wolves get the rub of the green. They literally do. They get every single rub of the green. And I swear to you, like, nobody should be able to annihilate another legion. And I know there were extenuating circumstances. I know that Magnus was so self-loathing that he lowered the defences on Prospero. But that still shouldn't matter. It was still one legion against another in the streets of Tisca and other places like that. It shouldn't have been so one-sided. It was so one-sided that it gives Iskandar Kaon in the Black Legion books fucking nightmares. He keeps dreaming of wolves and shit, like they're this big boogeyman that's going to come out to get him. It's a load of fucking nonsense. They're not that powerful, and they shouldn't be that powerful in the lore. They should just be another legion with their own aesthetic, like the rest of them are, right? The only reason why the Drop Site Massacre works is because it's a betrayal. It is something that nobody was expecting, and it's something that catches the other legions completely off guard, and so you can understand why they get annihilated. The Space Wolves just go and do it, because, they're the Space Wolves, and so they're allowed to do shit like that. They're just fucking obnoxious and horrid, man. I hate them. Anyway, number 5. They kill a Grey Knight's Grandmaster and are allowed to get away with it. When in lore, we are told a single Grey Knight could tank and kill 10 Marines without much effort. Grey Knights in the lore, or a single Grey Knight is around half the power of a Custodes. Just under, I would say. Just under half the power of a Custodes. A single Space Marine, even at Chapter Master level, is not beating a Grey Knight in a straight-up fight in the lore. It's just not happening. On the tabletop, sure, because it's the tabletop, we've got to keep it balanced. But in terms of, you know, in the lore, it's not happening. It's not happening. A single Space Marine against a single Grey Knight, the Grey Knight just slaps him into another dimension. That's the end of him, right? You know, they're all alpha level psychers. Are you telling me that a single fucking, you know, mangy wolf is going to be able to do anything to a Grey Knight in the lore? Of course not. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. And it comes from the obnoxiousness of their fan base. It really comes from when you look at, you know, the Grandmaster Coven. I've said this before. The Grandmaster Coven text-to-speech device skit where he's calling Wolfen digger knobs, and that's just a funny joke, you know, that this guy can't tell what's a digger knob and what isn't. Right? He's just a big. He's an orc fan. He loves orcs. That's been a meme online for ages, by the way. That there are certain, you know, Grey Knights who really like the orcs because they do the psychic, because the orcs do the psychic thing that make anything real. You know what I mean? And so it's a play on that joke. But of course, in the comments, it's just obnoxious Space Wolf fans talking about how the Space Wolves beat the Grey Knight so much last time that, you know, he wants to see digger knobs and not Space Wolves. What a load of fucking bollocks. What a load of fucking bollocks. It's just obnoxious and shit. You know, it shouldn't have happened in the lore. It shouldn't. And, you know, even when you read the Months of Shame, it's actually quite even, you know. My problem isn't in the fact that, you know, the Inquisition were beaten, because they weren't. My problem is the fact that, should anybody raise a hand to the Inquisition, that's the end of you, my friend. Goodbye. You're no longer in the Imperium. You're done. You're gone. Thank you. Thanks for coming. You're dead. Thanks for coming. We just annihilate your fucking chapter and we get rid of your entire planet. Okay, bye. That's you. You're done. Right? That's why I have a problem with it. Also, the power levels. Yeah, again, nobody should be beating a Grey Knight, let alone a fucking Grandmaster in the lore. Just you know, Logan Grimnard's beating a Grandmaster. Any Grandmaster should be able to turn Logan Grimnard's skin to the outside of his body, which with a flick of the fingers, it's like, yeah, okay, bang, see you later, bye, just done, you're gone. Yeah, that's it. But no, the rules don't apply to Space Wolves. This is why Space Wolves and Custodes have been kept far apart. Because if they ever came together, you know, the Space Wolves would pick a fight with them, and they'd win. And they'd win. Because the writers are terrified of pissing off the neckbeards who like Space Wolves. Because they have such fragile little egos that they can't handle having any depth to their characters. Anyway, number 6. They never really face any adversity. Sure, the Wrath of Magnus happened, but all it did was make Fenris even more dangerous, which is fine for the wolves. It just creates stronger Space Wolves. You know, Fenris is now this really cool half-demon world, so the Space Wolves get an entire world which they train people fighting demons. Awesome. Brilliant. Yep, no comeuppance whatsoever. No Space Wolf characters dead. Nothing. No one's dead, everyone's alive. Even Black Mane's alive. You know, just, what is going on? They're not allowed comeuppance. They're not allowed to have any sort of shit happen to them. The amount of Blood Angels secondary characters who died in the Shield of Baal campaign. The amount of Blood Angels successor chapters who got annihilated in the Shield of Baal campaign. You know, and then Wrath of Magnus happens. The wolves are fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Oh, God. Number 7. Their models suck and look like 7-year-old toys. They look like a 7-year-old's toys. Not even gonna go out on a limb on that one. Their models suck. The Space Wolf-centric models suck ass. They look stupid, and yeah, not a big fan of them. But, you know, that's something that even Space Wolf players could look at and go, yeah, that's bullshit. Why don't we have new models? I would say that too. But I think other armies need it more than actual Space Marine armies, to be honest with you. But anyway, moving on. Number 8. The lore brings its own back to accommodate these idiots. They don't even belong in 40k, such as their ridiculousness. Space Wolves should be a more Germanic and Slavic as well as Norse faction. That is far more interesting. Maybe even fold some Celtic and British Northern European stuff in there. The Space Viking aesthetic is just beyond cringe and made for children in a setting that likes to take itself overly seriously, especially the Imperial side, right? Number 9. Every time a Space Wolf is in a scene, he acts like an overly loud neckbeard who needs everybody to know how amazing he is. They give off massive amounts of small dick energy. I'm waiting for the Space Wolf in the Rogue Trader RPG to ruin many scenes he is in with needless bullshit shouting and crass attempts at bad jokes. Because that's what the Space Wolves do. They just take over any scene they are in with shouting and just talking shit. That's just what they do. And Space Wolf players on the whole, you know, you're not all like this. I've spoken to some quite reasonable ones, but a lot of them are exactly the fucking same. You know, Space Wolves are great, every other army's shit. Why have that attitude? Why have the attitude that every other army's shit? No, they're not. Your army's fucking lame, dude. You're lamer than Ultramarines. I've said it. You are more lame than Ultramarines. You just are. You just are. Because at least Ultramarines have something going for them, right? They have something going for them. In that, in the Horus Heresy, they actually did some interesting shit. They actually went and clapped the cheeks of the word bearers and other legions like that to keep them away from terror. You guys did nothing. You don't even have a culture, really. You're just Space Vikings. Hand wavy. Space Vikings. Throw a wolf on it. Space Vikings. You know, you could say the same for the Roman aesthetic of Calf and Macragge and all these other places, but in all honesty, you know, there's a lot more cultural stuff going on when the Ultramarines that actually meets the eye. There's a lot more going on underneath the surface. And a lot of the Ultramarine successor chapters fall to chaos because they're so balanced. Because they're so, like, normal. They just fall to chaos. That's interesting. The fact that they have to go over that and actually think about that and be like, oh, why do so many of us fall to chaos? You know? Alright, it goes on numbers because there's more Ultramarines than anyone else. So, you know, more of them are going to go away than anyone else. But at the same time, not interesting at all, man. Just not interesting. The reason why Space Wolves don't have successor chapters, by the way, is because of that. Because then some of them would have to fall to chaos. And they know the Space Wolf fans cannot take any sort of adversity. They would start rending their garments and whinging and moaning, so they don't do it. They just stay in this time capsule of being 10-year-old toys. Toys for 10-year-olds. They are not beyond redemption, but let's be honest, number 10, they are a sign of the laziness of GW and the writing team at times, and that is why I can never really forgive what they are. Even their main flaw is that they turn into cool space werewolves. Are you being fucking serious? That's it. That's the flaw. That's the flaw. The flaw of the Dark Angels is that the Blood Angels, sorry, is that so many of them are dying because they're going insane at a huge rate. That's really cool and really tragic, you know? The flaw of the Dark Angels is that they're so secretive that nobody trusts them, and half the fucking galaxy thinks they've turned to chaos or whatever, you know? It's ridiculous. All these really big drawbacks to being what they are. What do the Wolves get? They get to turn into more powerful versions of themselves. Are you fucking serious? That's it. That's it. For all the things they're given, that's what they have. As a bad thing against them. Alright. Alright, moving on. Moving on. Enough negativity. I need to talk about how I would change them, or I'm going to start... My blood's going to start boiling. So, in response to you, Court, how would I change them? Alright, so, here you go. Here's our 7 points on how Northern Exile would change the Space Wolves to be less... shit. So, if I had the opportunity to change them, I would. Number 1. I would retcon the Wolves after the Horus Heresy. So everything that you know that happened to the Space Wolves after the Horus Heresy, bang, didn't happen, right? Starting from there. My Wolves are extremely self-loathing for their failure to kill Horus before he reached Terra. They become a Slavic/Nordic/Celtic spiritual warrior shamans who only leave Fenris to go on a great hunt to smash the Imperium's largest enemies. So the Space Wolves only ever go out as a unified force once every couple of thousand years, to take on a big threat. This means that they are at the War of the Beast, the Age of Apostasy, and the Black Crusades, but that's about it as a unified force. With the coming of the 41st millennium, they are gearing up for another great hunt, and when the Great Rift comes, they set out, and that's where you have loads of Space Wolves running around after the Great Rift, right? Number 2, they do not fight against the Inquisition after Armageddon because they are not there. Their place is taken by the Iron Hands as they need more love. The Iron Hands need more love. They are one of the factions that need more love. You could replace the Iron Hands with anyone, to be honest with you, the Salamanders, Raven Guard, whoever you want, right? They should have been at Armageddon. Fuck the Space Wolves. They should have been at Armageddon instead. Number 3. The Space Wolves actually send out void packs into the stars. Small ships with called longboats, with 20 to 50 wolves on them to hunt enemies as assassins when there is no great hunt. So even when there's no great hunt, you can still play Space Wolves. And you can paint them however you want, because every single Space Wolf void pack has its own colour scheme, right? Like successor chapters, but they're much smaller and on their own ships. So they're like space pirates, and we'll get into that in a minute. The Space Wolf colours on Fenris, the normal colours, are dark grey, similar to the Carcharodons. None of this light blue and yellow shite for 10-year-olds, no. It's dark grey, similar to the Carcharodons, and with a deep blue trim for the snow, the snow aesthetic. They have elongated fangs and are rather shaggy in hair, like werewolves in human form. Kind of like what they are now. They are very insular and do not care for the Imperial citizenry at all, because they're insular warrior monks, essentially. Most are covered in Celtic tattoos that denote the histories of themselves and their clans. Alright, so we're developing a Fenrisian culture here. We're talking about the culture of Fenris and all the different clans that are on there, right? Right, the Space Wolves are not a jack of all trades. They are a close assault force specialising in void combat. That's right, Space Vikings that actually raid. Who would have thought, eh? Who would have thought? It's like somebody put 10 minutes of effort into thinking this stuff up. They are essentially space pirates who are given privateering license by the Imperium to harass places like Red Corsair territory and other places like that. Okay, so they are essentially licensed pirates. The Imperium want them to go out there, the Void Packs to go out there and fuck with people's shit, especially the Xenos, right? As such, Space Wolves do have tech marines who use Xenos tech when they raid Tau, Eldar and other planets, making for fun pirating stories, right? So you can have you can even have a story where the Space Wolves are overly represented in the Death Watch. How cool would that be? Because they're used to fighting Xenos, and so they have very close ties to the Ordo Xenos, and they're allowed to use certain bits of alien weaponry that they pick up, because they're so used to going out there beyond the Outer Dark and finding these weird aliens to smash to pieces, that's just what they do. Essentially, kind of like the Krogan in the Krogan Wars and Mass Effect, but they're on a much smaller scale, so they're sent out on these like longboats, these void ship longboats that go out and annihilate Tau enclaves, and they annihilate Eldar craft worlds and shit like that. How cool would that be? How cool would that be? That you got these like Viking space pirates out there, pushing people's shit in. How cool would that? I'd collect them. I would collect them. In fact, if I was ever going to do a Space Wolf force, if I ever become a success on YouTube to the point where I can afford to just build a force just to do them for shits and giggles, I promise you I will do a Space Wolf force, and it will be this Space Wolf force. There'll just be a void pack. Just a bunch of guys going out and pushing people's shit in, because that's just what they do, right? They don't really like the Space Wolves, You can even have Space Wolves who don't like the Space Wolves. You can even have void packs who are like, what a bunch of posers. And they just go around doing their own thing, It's just such a cool thing to get so many different colours and pieces of heraldry and shit like that into a Space Wolf army. Brilliant. Cool stuff. Right. Number 6. Fenris is essentially Nordic Singapore from Pirates of the Caribbean, but with loads of mutants from northern European folklore on the planet. Think the new God of War game. So think the new God of War game, but throw in loads of Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. So, like, you know, all these, like, privateering ships are coming back, yar, look at all the loot that we got, yar, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And they're paying their imperial tithe with stolen xenotech and shit like that. Like, look at this thing, I don't know what it does. Oh, my arm's turned into a tentacle. Yeah, that sort of stuff. That'd make them so endearing. Are just jolly space pirates, just running around. But they're secretly very self-loathing, which is why I think this is really cool. So, number 7... the Space Wolves are extremely stoic in my writing, right? But also do love to party after a successful raid. They tell sagas of their raids and things like that. They're still brash, but also regretful and very self-loathing because they see themselves as failures. They weren't at the Siege of Terra. You know? They were headstrong, they went off and did their own thing, and they cost the Emperor. They think that they're the reason why the Emperor's on the Golden Throne, and so they hate themselves. And they cope. You know, all of this pirating stuff and all of the jolliness and all that, it's just a cope. That's all it is. They're just coping with the fact that they failed. That's so much more interesting. That is so much more interesting than all of the good things you can give a Space Wolf. You know? My Space Wolves, they think raiding is all they're good for. And do you know what's tragic about it? That couldn't be further from the truth. As every single time they unify as a unified chapter, they kick fucking ass. You know, and it's a tragic truth. The tragic truth is that they don't feel that way. They feel like they let everybody down, and this is all they're good for. How cool would that be? Do you know when people say about magic systems, about why some of them aren't very interesting? A magic system is only as interesting as its own limitations, right? The same thing goes for factions in most settings, and Space Wolves are one of the factions in Warhammer 40,000 who don't abide by that rule. They get all of the cool shit and none of the drawbacks, and that makes them not very interesting. Same thing with Superman. Superman's not very interesting, John Cena's not very interesting, but when characters like that become interesting is when they develop flaws. It's when they develop, okay, well, what happens when things don't go right for me, right? That's why people like Batman, and they don't really like Superman. You know? Just is what it is. Space Wolves need that chip on their shoulder. They need to be like, well, you know, we will only come together for the biggest threats when we think the empire that our father built is going to die. When we think that's going to happen, we will come to your aid. But until then, we're not good enough to help you. We will help you by being these, you know, pirates that'll go out there and do a little bit here and there. That's so much cooler. And you can build so many different Space Wolf armies doing that. And that's how I would change the Space Wolves to be not as obnoxious as what they are now. So, what do you guys think about the Space Wolves? Are you guys wolfophiles? Do you like your wolves? I didn't touch on any of the furry stuff because I don't think it's fair. I don't think Space Wolf fans are furries at all, you know, because, you know, how? Like, the big muscly dudes who degenerate into slavering werewolves. There's nothing sexual about it. Get your mind out the gutter. I actually think their main sin for me is that they have the potential to be so much more. So much more. But they're not utilised. And do you know what? I think the vast majority of Space Wolf fans are happy with that. They don't want it to be utilised because their egos can't take the fact that they might have to suffer 1 or 2 losses to become relatable. Anyway, if you like what I do, please go and support Composite Games. And by doing so, you're supporting me. And if you like what I do, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and become a Patreon, if you can do. Remember my 1 in 10 rule. So if you can afford to give me something 10 times, give me it once. I don't want you giving me anything that you can't afford to give me, because that's not what I'm about. We are kind of steady at the moment on Patreon. I would love to start reaching towards the £750 target again. Because if I can do that, then I can just create these for fun, rather than thinking about what will get me views and ad revenue. You know, it just is what it is. I love you all a long time. I really hope you have a really good day, and I'll see you tomorrow for more Hobby Nightmares. Have a tremendous day. See you later.